Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Such.
Does it? My name's James.
Well, there's still a long way to go, James. So I'm going to continue to say that until we feel like it's not possible anymore. But that makes me feel like you're not in the best of moods after the first 9 games of this match week post Overhaul.
No, although I probably shouldn't judge it until tonight's gone. But looking at the drop I've had down to nearly 6,000, basically doubled my rank near enough. But I've got 5 to go tonight. 4 Man City plus Rodrigo. So I shouldn't judge it till tonight's gone. But I don't think I'm making up tonight what I've lost so far this week. So you want to get off to a good start, don't you?
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like that. Well, I say it doesn't feel like it. That's not happened for me. And if I could go back and use the overhaul again, I would do some things differently, like Trevor Chalobah, for fucking example.
Do you want to run us through your team? How many points have you on at the moment, James?
I'm on 63, mate.
Okay.
Which is, and I know there's going to be people out there with worse as well.
And you've got 5 Man City, right?
No, I've got 4.
Okay,
but I've got Rodrigo tonight as well. I decided in the end start with him. To be honest, I was quite happy with where I was going with it, and like for many people, the Mitrovic news meant changing the number of things around. Not bitter about it at all. Like I know a few people are as well. I went with a 3-4-3 to start with. Ederson in goal, Saliba, Virgil van Dijk, and Chalobah. Chalobah kind of became 11th man in the end. Basically, because having looked at the period since Wesley Fofana got injured, he started every single game for Chelsea. Cups, league, the lot. He started everything. I'm thinking, why am I paying this extra for Thiago Silva? And then obviously the teams came out yesterday. I went, that's why I was going to play the extra for Thiago Silva. But then even Thiago Silva spent most of the first half hobbling around, didn't he? He was like, go down. Come off, mate. Do the Reece James. So I need to make a decision what I'm doing with Chalobah. He might go as early as tonight for me if Akanji or Aki's in the Man City team. And I presume one of them will be. But I'm not sure I'm desperate to move it for tonight. But I think if I get in tonight and then there's the Everton game, you'd be pretty confident of a 10-pointer against Everton at the weekend. Then I might just move it on because I was never overly enamoured with, I need a Chelsea player against Fulham. He's part of. He came back into mind because of Mitrovic. Thinking about that Thursday the 12th. Now I do still have some cover for that fixture. Midfield 4, I went with Rashford. I went with Paulinho. I went with Rodri, KDB up front. Haaland, Rodrigo, and Harry Kane. I captained Harry on Monday. I captained Marcus Rashford yesterday. I went Van Dijk over Salah. Part of that was lack of clarity on Manchester City defensive players. I just think it's an absolute mess until we've got a couple of games of information. And the plan being, the thinking was, I'll move on Van Dijk, Rashford, and probably Kane next Thursday when City go to Chelsea and add free City defensive in there where I can look at the team. I've got 2 games of information. That's the plan. But it might be that it's 1 tonight and another 3 next week, as I said, because I might just be in Chalobah. The fact that Koulibaly played right-sided centre-back put me off. Because I think one of the reasons Chalobah was playing was in Reece James's absence as well. Gary Mantle, our Chelsea correspondent, speaks about this a lot. Is the lack of pace on that side because of Azpilicueta. So if Azpilicueta is going to play, you need some pace in behind to cover that. Well, Koulibaly's got it as well. And the fact he played right-sided centre-back yesterday is a little bit alarming. So I haven't decided yet. And if certainly for whatever reason, neither Aki or Akanji are in the City team tonight, then I'm not moving it. I'll wait. And it's conceivable they won't be, right? It could easily be Cancelo, Laporte, Stones, and Kyle Walker, right? So yeah, no decision made. And even if they are in it, I'm not sure that I will. I actually fancy Leeds probably to score tonight now. Yeah, disappointing. Just a little bit behind. And I'm not even ended up with what I wanted with City because at the moment all I've got defensively tonight is Ederson as it stands. So I feel a bit like I've fucked it, and the no Mitrovic is going to be painful, not just for now, but I think going on, because I don't see me going for him now. The fact that Leeds play Villa the night after Fulham play Chelsea, I don't see me working it back in to go for Mitrovic.
Yeah. Interesting. I've done a little bit better, James. I'm on 81 points, and I have 5 City to go today as well. So I started the match week on about 4,900, give or take. I'm at 5,600. So I've dropped, but like I said, I've only had 6 players so far.
So you're ahead of me, and you've got like 12 more transfers in hand.
43 still sitting there.
Can you start taking this shit seriously, please? I'm not joking.
Am. So there was a few decisions that I had to make, right, in the lead up to deciding what the overhaul was going to be. There was a few players that was just in regardless for me. Erling Haaland was one. Mo Salah was one. Kevin De Bruyne was one. I didn't go with Kevin De Bruyne in FPL, but the thing in this game is that there's so many different ways that guy scores points in terms of shot tiers and passing tier and the odd tackle tier as well. I was like, I'm not going to go without Kevin De Bruyne. Paulinho as the enabler. And the thing with Paulinho is that because Mitrovic wasn't fit, I had that backup Fulham captaincy coverage. Like if I had to throw the armband on him on a day, fine, sod it, I'll do it. Marcus Rashford was in because of the Manchester United captaincies that I wanted, and I wasn't going there defensive either. Rodri was always in my mind, mainly because of how consistent he is. And I was drawn to what you'd said about getting 5 or 6 Man City in straight away and how beneficial that would be. Saliba, I wanted to start with knowing that there's going to be a problem coming soon, which will be the suspension. But for his price and what he enabled me to do, I'll take the rough with the smooth with Saliba. Trippier stayed in as well. So there's quite a few players that I was quite content on. What my difficulty was going without Harry Kane, James. I just looked at it and I was like, I need that Spurs option for captaincy, and I do want to go with Kane. But as you mentioned, you're willing to come off Haaland, right? After they play Everton, go to Kane for 2 captaincies, Villa and Palace.
Well, I ended up starting with Kane.
Yeah,
I think that's a great option for you. Yeah.
I had more transfers, so I was like, I don't need Kane. What am I risking here? Him going off against Brentford. Well, what's my alternative to him going off against Brentford? It's Salah. So there's every chance that Salah will match Kane in that game, and I'll have Kane anyway for those 2 games that are upcoming. So I left it, and I decided that I wanted to keep Cancelo, get Reece James, and then what that meant was my goalkeeper, James, was going to be Danny Ward, who was cheap as chips and is fine because first couple were difficult, but then they've got a couple of good fixtures. And that was kind of what I'd settled on until I really looked at it. And I was like, if I've got Haaland and De Bruyne, when am I ever going to captain Cancelo? Like, it's really not likely. And it means that I've got a useless goalkeeper. Looking through our Slack channel, so many people had Ederson. And I thought, you know what, is that a really simple, straightforward option for the Man City defence? And you mentioned that we don't know what's going on with their defence. And I think you're right, but I think you're right about the centre-backs. I think Kyle Walker plays as right back.
I genuinely have no idea what City's back four is going to be tonight.
Yeah, I've gambled on Kyle Walker. And if I went Ederson and Walker instead of Danny Ward and Cancelo, it meant I just had to go Thiago Silva instead of Reece James. And I'm fine with that. And I'm looking back in hindsight, James being now injured means that I've saved myself. The thing is, it set me up with whatever I want for captaincy for the next 7, 8, 9 days without needing to use any transfers other than the Harry Kane, the Haaland to Kane and back again. And I've got to use some transfers here, mate. So
yeah, I think it's the right strategy for you, mate.
Like so far, Salah captaincy, that was a 13-pointer doubled up to 26. Paulinho was only a 4-pointer, but for a cheap player like that, you're going to take it. Trippier 10-pointer, Silva 10-pointer, Saliba 5-pointer, and Marcus Rashford another 26-pointer as captain. So 81 points off 5 players. And I'd say I basically held my rank, give or take. I'm super happy. So assuming that all the City play tonight, Haaland pops off as captain, I want to rise at least 1,000, couple of thousand today. And then I'll kind of make a decision on where I need to go moving forward. But I'm well set. I don't need to use any transfers. I've got captaincy coverage from everyone bar Spurs with Salah, Haaland, Rashford, Silva. Just that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting as well, looking at my team. I'm on 63 from 6 played.
Mm.
Van Dijk 9 points, Saliba 5, Paulinho 4. I mean, it's cheap guys and take them 5 and 4 points every week, to be honest. Rashford 26, Kane 18. And yet I'm miles behind everyone else. And it's very easy to explain why when we look at the ownership. So in the top 1,000 Suj, of players owned by more than 10%, only 2 have blanked. Completely.
Wow. That's why after the first day, I should add, James, I was down to 7,500. Like I dropped a lot. And all my players had returned. I'm like, how am I dropping so far when all my players have returned? But you're explaining it exactly there, right? It's the that's the problem.
So let's have a look. Let's have a look at ownership in the top thousands. Worth saying as well. There was when I looked on yesterday. Perhaps the stats hadn't updated, but Jesus' ownership was quite significant. So I don't know if there's a lot of dead teams who dropped out the top thousands as well. So there might be more than we expected. We look at goalkeepers ownership. Nick Pope stayed in 42% of teams. So obviously got a clean sheet. Edison obviously plays tonight. The only other keeper with more than 10% ownership is Kepa, 10.8% ownership. Obviously had a nice haul himself last night. Onto defenders, more than 10% ownership. There's only 5. Kieran Trippier, 82%. Assist and clean sheet. I've gone with no Newcastle, mate. It's fucked me already. William Saliba, passing tier against West Ham. João Cancelo plays tonight. Manuel Kanji's got 11% ownership, plays tonight. Fabian Schär, only 7 million, 23% owned. Clean sheet again. Midfielders, we actually find a blanker here at over 10%. So Salah's got 87% ownership. He's hauled. Rashford's got 85% ownership. He's hauled. Almiron's got 66% ownership. Obviously scored as well. Martinelli scored on Monday night, 42% ownership. KDB plays tonight. Paulinho is only in 22% of teams. Tackled here as per normal. Might have been more as well if he'd not been taken off with 15 to go. Saka's got 13% ownership. Scored. Foden plays tonight. Odegaard has got returns on Monday as well, 11% ownership. The only one, Leandro Trossard, 11.3% ownership. No return against Southampton on Monday. And the forwards, you've got Haaland and Kane are obviously mass owned. Kane's obviously returned on Monday. Nunez, 16.8% ownership. He must have hit shots here. He had about 29 shots, didn't he? So, but I think that's a decent differential. Tony's got 11% ownership scored. So the only other player other than Trossard with more than 10% ownership in the top 1,000 who's blanked this week is Callum Wilson. And he only fucking blanked because he didn't play. Otherwise, he probably would have scored as well. So I particularly feel sorry for those who might have gone Wilson instead of Mitrovic. That is going to be an absolute sickener. You can't have seen that coming. Mitrovic
shot tier 2, by the way, for Darwin, by the way, James. So yes,
yeah, that's what I knew. He had to, mate. Mitrovic 8.6% ownership in the top 1,000, and that'll grow as we come towards those Fulham game days. So I think it's fairly clear, isn't it, that like template is template for a reason quite often in Sky. He has proven the case in FPL very much this week as well, that most of the template has performed extremely well. Reece James ownership in the top 1,000, 9.2%. Surprised how low that was. Thiago Silva only 3.9%. Can't see much ownership for Trevor Chalobah. Looks like it was just me, mate. But then I'm not in the top thousands. What am I comparing to? So yeah, templates started really strong. The one that's obviously really cost me is you've got 4 Newcastle players with decent ownership. Pope, Trippier, Schär, and Almiron. I've got none of them. Interestingly, there is a kind of big gains coming up for Newcastle. There's a little period. I've got no one currently, Suj, other than the plan is to have no one for Saturday the 21st. I mentioned this Saturday last week. My plan is to actually invest in Newcastle on Sunday the 15th. and captain a Newcastle player against Fulham, and then captain a Newcastle player the following Saturday against
Saturday the
Palace.
21st.
Yeah, Saturday 21st of January.
You've
It's
got
like
no
7.
players.
Yeah, once I dive into City, the plan is I'll have no players.
Out of all of those games?
Yep.
That is mad.
Yeah. Well,
even Liverpool, Arsenal playing.
Well, Arsenal, Man United is the
Liverpool,
22nd.
Chelsea. Oh, is it moved?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I had it down as the wrong date on the sheet. So Arsenal, Man
Okay.
United's the Sunday. So Saliba, for example. Man City, Wolves, I'll obviously have loads of City. Leeds, Brentford, if I've still got Rodrigo. Monday night's Fulham, Tottenham, like Sir Paulinho and stuff. So I generally would have nothing on that Saturday. So the plan is to go and invest in Newcastle, which a lot of people obviously already going to be on something. Fulham at home and as a captaincy. And then I think Palace away as a captaincy, just cover. Yeah. You got West Ham, Bournemouth. So
straight after,
they've got a few there where there's like a 4 for 2. And if you've got captaincies involved, effective a little bit more over certain teams. There's even a gain very briefly on Manchester City if you really, really fancy it. But I don't think it's not the City players. What I'm looking at doing there is Rodrigo's got the captaincy against Villa, isn't he, on the Friday night? Then move it to Newcastle on the Sunday. That's my thinking. Yeah, tough start for many. Those who started really well, very well done. Should we have a look at some of the stats from the game, Suj?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's not huge takeaways from the games. Raya, 6 saves again. His most saves in the Premier League. You'd mentioned him a lot last week. He's a very reasonable get as a goalkeeper, obviously.
I kind of partly regret not sticking with him, but also when I look at it, I've got Ederson. So it's not like I've gone from Raya to Danny Ward. I've gone up. But the price difference is huge. Like Ederson 7.9. Sorry, this is 6.7. There's over a 1.2. There's 1.2 in it. If I need to save money at some point, I may go back down to David Raya. But Ederson's just got more fixtures. He's going to score more points over the next 10 weeks.
Son and Kane both hit shots in that fixture at Brentford. Eric Dyer just into passing with 60. Interestingly, Japhet Gango played the first 2/3 of the game. Right-sided centre-back, only got to 32 passes. Actually quite low numbers for Tottenham centre-backs, considering they're obviously chasing the game from sort of minute 15 onwards. Shouldn't read too much, obviously, into the Palace-Fulham game, considering the 2 red cards for Palace players. Robinson, Ream, Diop and Harrison Reed all hit passing. Might have hoped that Paulinho might have, if he'd stayed on, if he was one off tackles for tier 2, could he have made 20 passes in 15 minutes against 9 men? He might have, actually. Mitrovic, 4 shots on target. Yeah, we don't need to speak about that anymore, do we? James Tarkowski, 84 passes for Everton against Wolves. Massive anomaly. Their next highest was Onana in midfield with 51. So he was playing left-sided centre-back, so I don't have to try to force him onto his left foot, and he's kept going backwards a lot, potentially. Everton players don't normally hit passing. 6 tackles for Anthony Gordon, who came back into the team. Nothing of note from the Wolves players. There was not a single tear for any Newcastle player.
Wow.
At Leicester. Not a single thing at all. Pope made 2 saves. No one had more than 1 shot on target. Highest for passes was Botman, 41. Trippier was 1 off tackles. And he's very capable of obviously picking them up. Fass and Amati picked up tier 2 passing for Leicester, which can happen certainly when they're chasing games. And there was tackle tier 4, Castagne, Tielemans, and also Josi Perez, who'd come on quite early in the game for Dennis Pratt. Brighton had a lot of the ball at Southampton. Levi Colwill has been covering for Adam Webster, 60 passes. Lewis Dunk, 72. The midfielders, Pascal Gross, 93, and Moise Caicedo, 87. McAllister's going to be extremely popular when he's back available, which we don't think is going to be the Arsenal game. And I guess he's doubtful for the Everton game on Tuesday the 3rd, which is going to make entry points quite challenging. But I think he's a regular one that's going to hit passing tackles. And he's obviously capable of the odd goal as well when he's going to be on the odd set pieces and the pens. Joel Veltman, 7 tackles as well. It was a shot tier for James Ward-Prowse, which is explained by the fact that he had a penalty saved and scored the rebound.
Yeah.
No passing tears for Liverpool at Aston Villa. The game reminded me a lot of Liverpool's win at Tottenham, as they had that 2-goal cushion and they really, really sat off. So Van Dijk had 57, Trent 57, Joel Matip 59. So only just off, but this might be a trend to keep an eye on in Liverpool. That the passing tiers actually, when they're in front of games, particularly away from home, they might just completely dry up. 3 shots on target for Ollie Watkins. There were 4, as you said, for Darwin Núñez, which is the same as the completed passes he had in the game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He had 6 shots and completed 4 passes, Darwin Núñez.
Mad.
He's an absolute menace. I considered him a lot. It was, to be honest, the reason I went with Van Dijk rather than him was the fact that I didn't really have anything defensively because I wasn't going with any City centre-backs or full-backs. And that's the only reason, essentially, why I picked Van Dijk over Núñez, was as a holder at that value in the centre-back position. Big numbers for the Arsenal centre-backs. Gabriel, 95, and Saliba, 93 against Arsenal. Ben White, even 65 passes from right back. Thomas Partey, 78 in midfield. Ben Rama, 2 shots on target. Is about the only West Ham player that might be of interest if you're looking for a differential at the moment. Thiago Silva, 89 passes. Interestingly, as much as I regretted, obviously, no Chalobah in the Chelsea team, Koulibaly only 53. So no guarantee that Chalobah would have had a 10-pointer yesterday. Cucurella, 66 passes and 4 tackles. For those who've gone Reece James, I wonder if they might consider Cucurella. Just a point, though. What Chelsea do when Reece James is available is Cucurella really tucks in as a left-sided centre-back, which is why the passing tiers can be there. And then essentially they transition where James is right wing-back and Pulisic played more as like a left wing-back. But Azpilicueta as a right wing-back is not suitable. So that might change. Now, it might be that they play like Sterling as right wing-back. We've seen that sort of thing. But I'm not sure if you'll get that bias with Cucurella tucking in the same way with Reece James absent. It might even be that they go the other way and tuck in Azpilicueta to right-sided centre-back and push Cucurella higher on the left-hand side. That is possible. There's a number of different things that Chelsea could do in Reece James' absence. Shots here for Mount, was passing here for Jorginho. A few Bournemouth players, centre side, Zamora and Cook got tackle tiers. 100 passes for Luke Shaw for Manchester United last night, played left-sided centre-back and felt like he was on the ball a lot. 29 passes more than Raphael Varane. There was obviously a haul for Marcus Rashford, shots here, goal and assist. Casemiro, 76 passes, 5 tackles, very consistent asset. As the fixtures get tougher and you want to maintain United assets, Casemiro might be the way to go rather than Rashford. Christian Eriksen also hit passing. It was tackled here for Bruno Fernandes, nothing else. Dean Henderson will obviously come back in goal for them against Chelsea on Sunday.
Cool. Some interesting bits and pieces there. Nothing, like you said, that was out of the ordinary or crazy, but just, a few bits and pieces there. Captaincy, James. Let's cover off who you're captaining over the next few days. And we
Haaland.
Some Twitter questions. So tonight, Haaland for everybody.
What? It doesn't have to be, does it? But
no, well, he can't be. 92.3% of top 1,000 teams, but you're assuming there are people in the top 1,000 that didn't own him pre-overhaul because of the injury and might be dead, so they may drop out.
There's that potentially, yeah, and there's also, I think, people might have plans the opposite of what you're thinking. Is they've gone Kane and captained him Monday. I wouldn't agree with it. Now go Haaland, yeah. I haven't completely ruled out the idea of, if I feel comfortable that Cancelo's in the team tonight and stuff, I haven't ruled out doing that myself. Going Kane to Cancelo tonight and then going back for Harry on. But it feels for me like I'm just hemorrhaging transfers and I haven't got enough to be fucking about with that. Excuse me. Haaland tonight. Friday, it's going to be Van Dijk for me. Serge, I take it it'll be Salah for you.
Mohamed Salah for me. I'm going to go Mo. Leicester at home, I think they should win it. And I do think Mo looked actually quite lively. Like he could have had a few more on the one where he burst through 1-on-1. I was like, you've got
just got it stuck under his feet a little bit, but the pace was blistering, wasn't it?
Square it. And I don't know who's coming in on the other side. Probably Nunez could have put it away.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
He's bloody chaos, Nunez. Like, if you've got him, I'd strongly urge to not shit yourself.
Keep him. Yeah.
Like, hold, yeah, really, really do so at the moment.
What about New Year's
Maddison,
Eve, James?
just on that game Friday, obviously Maddison, we don't think is going to be back. By the sounds of it, if people have gone there, I'd be looking to move on. Does increase the potential of Liverpool cleans and stuff. Leicester can in some of these games really sit off. So the passing tiers might be there for Van Dijk. Not that you got any trust in them for a clean sheet. I wouldn't fancy them for a clean sheet at Brentford next Monday either. But I'll be Van Dijk's where I've gone. Saturday will be
Haaland. Yeah, I mean Everton at home.
I can see no reason why he wouldn't play. If something happened to him tonight, it would be KDB in that sort of fixture for me. I think I'd go for it.
Yep. The Monday night, Chelsea away at Nottingham Forest,
or the Sunday afternoon.
Sorry, Sunday afternoon, and Tottenham at home to Aston Villa. I've talked about buying Kane for Haaland for the 2 games, but you know what you say, James, when you buy a player and move the captaincy. I've got Thiago Silva for Forest away, and I don't know if Kane is a better option than Thiago. Like he probably is, but there's not a lot in it. And you know what happens when you buy a player and move the captaincy? You get your ass handed to you. So I'm likely to do Haaland to Kane and put the armband on him, but I've got Thiago there as backup.
I think you should still do it. Thiago's still really good differential for usage. I think that probably comes into your factor, doesn't it? That if you don't do it and you captain Thiago Silva, great. But if Harry does well, he's going to destroy it, right? So I think for you, you go in, you captain Harry. He'll be the popular one. Rogue, if people want to go rogue, I fancy Sonny to score on Sunday.
Okay.
There was little glimpses on Monday. I thought it might just be coming back for him. It'd be Harry for me. I'm not going to rely on Chalobah playing, am I? Unless Thiago was to get ruled out or Koulibaly ruled out, for example. Monday be Van Dijk.
You already own him, to be honest. So you already own Kane, so it's not like you have to buy him for that. So yeah,
I could move him tonight. It's not impossible. But I'm probably just going to leave it. What would I want if I was to do that? What would I want from Cancelo? Let's say that's the move I make, and bearing him, I'm not going to captain him. 25 minimum. So I need clean sheets, I need passing tier, and I probably need an attacking return. No, I mean logic says no, probably not, considering it will cost me 2 transfers, right? It's not just one, it's then the second to move it back again. Monday, I think the most important note for Monday is you're going to captain whatever you've got. Note the kickoff time. It's 5:30. It's not 8 o'clock. It's a 5:30 kickoff on Monday. I presume the darts final, I'm going to guess, is Monday night. And obviously that's probably what Sky have done. Get the people to stay from the football to the darts afterwards. That's my guess. So be Van Dijk for me. Monday, you'll be Salah, I take it. Yeah.
Assuming he's playing.
Tuesday, Suj?
Rashford for me at home to Bournemouth. I think he's a good shot. He looks in form. They looked happy yesterday. I don't know if Nico's even going to listen, James, the Ronaldo fanboy that we have at Planet FPL HQ, but he's gone now. There's a different energy, isn't it? It's just reminded me of when Arteta finally got Aubameyang out of Arsenal. And
there's comparisons.
Finally, the mood is a little bit different. No slight on Ronaldo's career or whatever, but and they just looked energized. So I think I'm going to go with Rashford, mate.
Yeah, I think it'd be the same for me as well. It's him or Saliba, basically. So, I think Rashford at home to Bournemouth. I think he scored in his last 5 home games at Old Trafford as well. So, Rashford for me.
Fine. And by the time we get to the Wednesday games, we'll be recording Sky Fantasy Football again. But provisionally, James, just while you've got it, are you going to stick with Kane away at Spurs? Palace, sorry. Kane
probably. But might be Rodrigo at home to West Ham.
We'll see what thoughts are around that. And then,
chances are, yes, Kane.
Yeah. And Chelsea City will be a City player, but probably Haaland.
Yeah.
Indeed. Good. Should we do some of the questions that we had in on Twitter, James?
Yeah, knock them out, mate.
Yes. Thank you again for sending those questions in. If you are a new listener or you're new around here, head over to Twitter at Planet FPL Pod, where you can follow James. And each and every week, the day before, give or take, James will stick a tweet out asking for questions, and more often than not with this show, we get through all of them as well. Amateur FM says, are there any standout differential captains over the next few days, or is it a case of going Kane, Salah, Haaland when they play?
Yeah, basically, unless you've gone different, like a Van Dijk or a Nunez or Eric Dyer, maybe. Yeah, essentially, yes. And then it gets interesting, really, from the Fulham Chelsea fixture, which people need to think about. Obviously, we'll talk about it more next week. But obviously, next Thursday, you've got straight 2 for 0 with Chelsea. But do you want it, considering Man City's first? But there's a case for it. You could make a case they're best for captaincy Sunday the 15th at home to Palace as well. And that's one reason why I'm a little bit loath just to move Chalobah on. Is that he's knowing he could be back in even for something like that, Palace at home, which might even be useful for me. But I mean, I would take, if you said to me now, look, Chalobah's back in for Fulham and Palace, I'd probably take that and keep him. I'm not sure he's going to be. Koulibaly and Silva were decent yesterday, to be honest. The answer is no, till we get to that Fulham Chelsea fixture and the Villa Leeds fixture.
Mac PMC says, should I move Reece James on? And if so, who with? Thanks. What's the prognosis at the moment on Reece James?
It was a strange one. As soon as he signalled, everybody knows, like, oh, shit. It sounds like he left the stadium in a knee brace. Now, that could be precautionary. It could also be really bad. I would suggest he's very unlikely to play at Nottingham Forest on Sunday, and I would think move it. I would think, in a weird way, for those who've gone Reece James, you've probably got the blessing in the sense that you're walking right into where's the game? It's Man City tonight, isn't it? Look at the City team and invest in Man City tonight and just crack on. The only thing, obviously, to be cautious of with that is you might have no Fulham, you might have no Paulinho, no Mitrovic. Someone will be listening in that position and perhaps no other Chelsea, and you're thinking, oh, shit, I've done me out the captaincy Thursday the 12th. If that's how you feel, go back to Chelsea next Thursday when you've got a bit more information, Thursday the 5th. So I think if there's a Reece James owner, whatever plays tonight that's of interest, Walker, Stones, Akanji, Aki, it's going to be one of them, I think.
And what's your thoughts on the Spurs to City hokey cokey, e.g. Kane to KDB for 2 games and back to Kane? That's Jake's wondering about doing that. We have talked about that. I mean, there's definitely a 2-0 fixture gain there. I guess the answer to that is how many transfers you got, right? If you've got plenty to burn.
I think you need it to go off. It's different the other way. On Sunday, if you're going from, let's say, even Haaland, and I'm sure people will have this in their plan, go Haaland to Kane on Sunday. It's different because you're effective 4 for 0 if you're going to captain Harry twice. Whereas if you go for the Man City player tonight, unless you're captaining, it's 2 games and it's costing you 2 transfers. So, would I expect Kane with 2 captaincies to get you to 25 points or so? Well, basically 1 goal will near enough do it over the 2 games. So that's worth it. In the case I use with, say, Cancelo, you probably need 2 clean sheets, pass and tier twice, and an attack in return for it to be worth it. So I think Haaland or De Bruyne to Kane on Sunday for the 2 games and then back is perfectly reasonable. Probably doesn't make sense to add the City player tonight if you're going back. Obviously, if you're not going back, if you've gone, sod it, I've got Rodrigo, I'm captaining him next Wednesday, and I'm going to stick with Thiago Silva on Sunday, for example, and you've just gone, shit, I want to move it, then that's different, obviously.
Addy is coming back to Chalobah. He's one of the Chalobah owners. He's got money in the bank, so he's a City defender today, and I think we've just answered that as a yes if you can afford one of them, depending on who obviously starts.
Yeah, I think so. I think, to be honest, I don't regret the decision because having looked at it, it was something I'd overlooked and I'd gone, this is right in front of my face. And obviously the situation has changed, which I think we all know from Graham Potter teams can happen. To be honest, say for you on Sunday, Serge, I wouldn't be hugely shocked if Thiago Silva didn't play. That's in the back of my mind. If you look at Silva's minutes for Chelsea since Potter turned up, there's a lot more benchings in there than it feels like. And with Man City 4 days later, they may make a decision. You got to remember how old he is. Now, I would expect him to play, but if I saw the team on Sunday and he wasn't in it, I wouldn't be staggered. So on Sunday, I think if you've got the Kane Thiago choice, for example, I would captain Harry on Sunday.
Ian Parrott and David Rowe have the same problem, James, and I don't think we can help them with this. Ian says, no league is available for third teams. Come on, Sky, sort it out. Which month are you contemplating going for manager of the month? I have no idea, mate. I'm going for manager of the season.
Not thought about it. I mean, I must say I've set up my third team with 8 City players in it. So with Salah and Rashford as well. So I think Salah, Rashford, and maybe Saliba. I can't remember. So actually, from the 3 players, that's not bad in terms of returns so far. It's got 57 or something, I think. So the City boys would all do well. Maybe this month, I don't know. But then I would have been making transfers. Surely, it's going to be people on some massive scores this week. Maybe January.
And David Rose says exactly the same thing. We need leagues for the third teams to make it.
I don't understand why that availability is not there.
Who knows?
It's almost like, what was the point? It also means for those who've had teams around longer, unless you've left them dead or you want to revisit it. Like, to be honest, the third teams are going to be what does for the manager of the months now. So that's what it should be used for.
Last question of the show, James, goes to Steve. We are all looking to pile on City over the next few weeks, but when do you think the best time to jump off will be, and who will be the next team to target? With Champions League starting up between the Forest and Bournemouth games, rotation could be a huge risk.
Yeah, and it's worth saying as well, the Bournemouth game obviously could be postponed because it's the same weekend as the Carabao Cup final. So obviously if they don't play that weekend, then yeah, straight after Forest.
So where do we go?
Well, you're going to get forced into, subject to who else is in the final, you're going to get forced into Tottenham quite a bit. Home to West Ham the next day. Man United are at home to Leicester. Now, if United have got Leicester at home and Brentford at home back-to-back weeks, it's possibly quite interesting. You City don't have a fixture in between. But I don't see, if you look at that period, they've got Villa, Arsenal, Forest. And over that period, for example, Tottenham don't even play over those 3 games for City. It's going to be more difficult to come off before that. So I think it's just going to be a case of move off to what you can. And also, it's subject to when that Bournemouth game gets rearranged, right? It might be that it gets rearranged for one of the midweeks right around the final, and then it's a single game day, and you probably want to keep a lot of the City players. But yeah, I don't see, look, obviously the City players are going to get rotated, but I think coming off before Forest is going to be difficult. There's a few hokey cokeys you can do, but you're going to want to go back to them in most cases, I think.
That's all the questions we've had in on Twitter, James. Yeah, that's the lot.
I don't think there's a lot this week for transfer consideration for people. Most people probably, I think, set their teams up to get to at least sort of next Wednesday. And obviously next Wednesday, we'll speak more about Villa Leeds assets. We haven't obviously seen Leeds yet. We've got 2 games of information to gather about them. So I think people will be looking for Villa or Leeds perhaps next Wednesday, perhaps Chelsea next Thursday. Yeah, the Kane hokey cokey for a few. Other than that, it's covering injuries. I don't think too many people have planned in to make transfers this coming weekend.
No, exactly that. So good luck this weekend with your Sky Fantasy Football plans. If you're an active Sky manager and you really want to be more involved with a really active group of Sky Fantasy Football players, you may want to consider our Patreon. You can head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL. If you sign up at a basic tier or intermediate tier in January, you're going to get bumped up 1 level, and our Slack community has some really active managers that all help each other out, as well as access to James's fixture planner, without which James, I'd be absolutely screwed, to be honest with you, because I just wouldn't be able to visualize how the fixtures map out, what the gaps are between them, where my 2-for-1, 3-for-1 gains are going to be. So if you are interested to Sky Manager, and even if you're thinking about it for next season, then why not head over and think about that. Other than that, we have a quiz. So tomorrow is Clash of the Correspondents, James.
No, you're all over the place, isn't it? That was yesterday, Thursday. Tottenham v Villa. I'm going to do a live stream at 6:00. So if people want to come and ask me shit, come and ask me shit. I think that's what's tomorrow.
That I thought was for patrons, mate. Tomorrow.
Oh, was that for patrons?
Yeah.
What's the podcast tomorrow then? Oh, it's the whole game week review tomorrow.
Yes, we are reviewing game week
Get
17.
so lost over this time of year, mate.
Tell me about it. It's bonkers. I don't know what's coming or going. But wherever you're listening, if you're subscribed and we put content out, you'll know about it. That's all that matters. But yeah, hope you enjoyed your Christmas. Looking forward to New Year's. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other and play it your way. Cue music, please, man. Ciao.